Can you feel that? What do you mean? The air, it's heavier today. Doesn't it feel strange? We're on a space station in the middle of nowhere. Strange is the default setting, Greg. No, Lisa, I mean it. It's different. Almost like it's pressing on my chest. You've been cooped up in here too long. Maybe it's just paranoia. Paranoia doesn't make your lungs feel like they're working overtime. You're overthinking it. Let's focus on the report. Did you finish logging the biosample data? Yeah. But I swear I heard something earlier. Heard what? A hissing noise, like a leak. But then it stopped. A leak? Are you serious? Why didn't you say something sooner? Because it was quick, like it wasn't even there. And before you ask, yes, I checked the pressure gauges. They're fine. Greg, you can't take chances with this stuff. A leak could mean death. I know, Lisa, but everything's normal. At least, according to the systems. Systems can fail. Next time, report it. Got it. Got it. Still, that pressure thing you mentioned, you really feel it? Like a weight on my chest. Yeah, you don't? No, I feel fine. Maybe you just need to recalibrate your sleep cycle. Maybe. But it doesn't feel like that, Lisa. It feels wrong. Morning, station crew. This is Captain Reynolds. Morning, Captain, Greg said, tapping his comm unit. Let's make this quick. Everyone's reports are due by 1400. Maintenance checks are a priority today. We're detecting some slight fluctuations in oxygen levels across Deck 4. No cause for alarm, but we're keeping an eye on it. Deck 4? That's us, Greg muttered. Lisa frowned. What kind of fluctuations? Nothing critical, the captain replied. Just stay sharp. Reynolds out. You see? I told you something's off. Greg said, his voice rising. Relax. It's just a fluctuation. Could be a glitch in the system. Could be. Or it could be a real problem, Lisa. Then we'll run diagnostics. Simple. 2 hours later, Greg was in the maintenance bay, scanning the air circulation system. Anything? Lisa asked over the comms. Negative. No leaks, no blockages. Just clean, sterile air. Then what's causing the fluctuation? Beats me. I'll keep looking. As Greg moved to the next console, a faint hissing sound reached his ears. He froze. There it is again, he whispered. Greg, what do you hear? Hissing. Like something's moving through the vents. Stay where you are. I'm coming down. Before Lisa could reach him, the lights flickered. A deep, unsettling hum filled the air. Lisa? Greg's voice wavered. I'm almost there. The hum grew louder. Greg turned slowly, his heart pounding. The air seemed to shimmer in front of him, as if bending light itself. Lisa, I think I'm... Static filled the comms. Greg? Greg, are you there? When Lisa arrived, the room was empty. Greg was gone. Lisa stood frozen, staring at the empty maintenance bay. Greg? Her voice echoed in the silence. The tools he'd been using were scattered on the floor, but there was no sign of him. No blood, no struggle, just an eerie stillness. She tapped her comms. Captain? This is Lisa. We've got a situation on Deck 4. Greg's missing. Missing? What do you mean missing? He was here just minutes ago. I heard him over comms, but now he's gone. Stay where you are. I'm sending a team down now. And Lisa? Be careful. Lisa's grip tightened on the wrench she'd picked up instinctively. Minutes later, the captain and 2 other crew members, Ava and Dr. Patel, arrived in the bay. What happened? Reynolds asked, scanning the room. I don't know. He mentioned hearing something, hissing, and then the comms cut out. When I got here, he was gone. Hissing. Ava frowned. You think it's a breach in the oxygen lines? I've checked twice already. No leaks, Lisa replied. Dr. Patel crouched, examining the floor. No signs of a struggle. No footprints, no residue. Then where the hell did he go? Reynolds muttered. Lisa shook her head. It's like he just vanished. Back in the control room, the team pored over the station's internal footage. There, Lisa said, pointing to the screen. That's him. Right before he cut out. The video showed Greg standing in the bay, looking at the console. Then, Faintly, a shimmering distortion appeared behind him, like a heat wave rippling through the air. "What is that?" Ava asked, leaning closer. "Pause it," Reynolds ordered. Lisa froze the frame. The distortion seemed to wrap around Greg, enveloping him entirely. In the next frame, he was gone. "It's not a glitch," Reynolds said grimly. "Whatever that is, it's not human." The crew convened in the station's central hub. "All right," Reynolds began. "We've got a situation. Something, or someone, is on this station with us. And it's dangerous. It could be an anomaly," Patel suggested. "A phenomenon tied to the station's atmosphere." "An anomaly doesn't make people disappear," Lisa shot back. "It doesn't behave like any life form we've encountered," Ava added. "It's practically invisible, which makes it even more dangerous," Reynolds said. "From now on, no one goes anywhere alone. We stick to pairs and stay in constant communication." "Understood?" Everyone nodded. Hours passed without incident. Then, while performing a systems check in the greenhouse, Ava froze. "Do you hear that?" she whispered to Patel, who was working nearby. "Hear what?" Ava pointed towards the far corner of the room. The faint hissing sound Greg had described was unmistakable now. "Patel, something's here." "Don't move," Patel said, his voice low. The air around them began to shift, a faint shimmer flickering in and out of visibility. "Captain," Patel said into his comms, "we've got movement in the greenhouse." "Stay calm. We're on our way," Reynolds replied. But before help could arrive, the shimmering mass expanded, surrounding Ava. "Patel!" Ava screamed, clawing at the air. He lunged forward, grabbing her arm, but the distortion surged, forcing him back. Ava's body contorted as if something unseen was crushing her, and then she vanished. Patel stumbled back, trembling. "It's alive." Reynolds and Lisa arrived moments later to find Patel sitting on the floor, pale and shaking. "What happened?" Reynolds demanded. It took her," Patel stammered. "The air, it moved, like it was alive. And then she was gone." Reynolds exchanged a grim look with Lisa. "It's not an anomaly," Lisa said. "It's a life form, and it's hunting us." As the hours ticked by, the crew's fear grew. The sentient gas, unseen and unpredictable, seemed to move through the station at will. It struck without warning, leaving no trace of its victims. "Why is it targeting us?" Lisa wondered aloud during a tense meeting. "Maybe it sees us as a threat," Patel offered. "Or food," Reynolds said darkly. The crew fell silent. "We need to find a way to contain it," Lisa said firmly. "If it's moving through the air, maybe we can isolate it." "How?" Patel asked. "Force it into a sealed chamber. A vacuum, maybe. If it's a gas, it might not survive without air." The team devised a plan. They would lure the entity into the station's decontamination chamber, then seal it off and vent the air. "It's risky," Reynolds admitted, "but it's our best shot." "I'll be the bait," Lisa volunteered. "Absolutely not," Reynolds said. "Captain, we don't have time to argue. It's already taken 2 of us. I can lead it in. You just have to make sure the chamber locks." Reluctantly, Reynolds agreed. Lisa stood in the dim corridor outside the chamber, her heart pounding. "All right," she whispered into her comm, "let's do this." She activated a small handheld device, releasing a burst of heat into the air. Almost immediately, the hissing began. "It's coming," Lisa said, backing towards the chamber. The shimmering mass appeared, rippling towards her with alarming speed. "Now!" she shouted, diving into the chamber. Reynolds hit the controls, sealing the doors behind her. Inside the chamber, Lisa could feel the air shift around her. The entity was swirling, almost frantic. "Seal it off," she yelled. Reynolds activated the venting system. The air hissed as it was sucked from the chamber. The entity's movements grew erratic, its shimmering form flickering. Come on," Lisa muttered. Finally, with one last burst of motion, the entity dissipated, vanishing into the vacuum. The remaining crew stared at the chamber in stunned silence. "Is it gone?" Patel asked. "For now," Reynolds said. "But we're not staying here to find out if it comes back." The crew initiated evacuation procedures, leaving the station behind. As the escape pod drifted into the void, Lisa stared out the window. "Do you think it's the only one?" she asked quietly. Reynolds didn't answer. In the silence, the faintest hissing sound seemed to echo in the back of her mind. The escape pod sped through the vast emptiness of space, carrying Lisa, Captain Reynolds, and Dr. Patel. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the hum of the pod's engines. Lisa sat gripping the armrests, her mind racing. "Captain," she said softly, what if that thing isn't just part of the station? What if it's something larger, something we brought on board?" Reynolds glanced at her, his face pale but calm. "We scanned every sample we collected before bringing it onto the station. It's standard procedure. But what if it wasn't detectable by our systems? What if it was dormant?" Patel spoke up, his voice trembling. "She's right. Think about the biosamples we collected from that asteroid belt last month. The gas. It could have been inside one of those specimens." Reynolds frowned, leaning back. "If it's from the samples, we might have just exposed ourselves to something entirely alien. Something that doesn't follow any biological rules we understand. Then it could still be with us," Lisa said, her voice barely above a whisper. Hours passed in tense silence as the escape pod inched closer to the nearest space station, a hub called Haven 12. It was a mid-sized facility, heavily populated with researchers, traders, and maintenance staff. Reynolds activated the comms. "This is Captain Reynolds of Station Delta 14. We're requesting emergency docking. We've encountered an unknown threat." The voice of Haven 12's operations manager crackled back. "Copy that, Delta 14. Please elaborate on the nature of the threat." "It's hard to explain. An unknown entity. Invisible, possibly gaseous, and lethal. We're not sure if it's still with us, but we need quarantine procedures upon arrival." There was a pause before the manager responded. "Understood, Captain. Docking Bay 3 is prepared for containment protocol." As the pod docked, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She stared at the air vents, her breath shallow. "I'm telling you, it's still here," she said to Reynolds. "We'll know soon enough," he replied, motioning to the station's medical team waiting outside. The crew was led into a decontamination chamber where they were scanned for any anomalies. The results came back clean, but Lisa wasn't convinced. "This thing doesn't leave traces," she said. "It's like it hides in plain sight." Over the next few days, the crew was separated for observation. Lisa spent her time in isolation, replaying the events on the station, trying to piece together what she knew about the entity. The hissing sound, the shimmering air, the way it seemed to target people one by one. "It's intelligent," she muttered to herself. "It knows how to pick us off. But why?" Suddenly, the lights in her room flickered. She froze. "Hello?" The air around her grew heavier, colder. A faint shimmer appeared in the corner of the room. "No, no, no, no," she screamed, slamming her fist on the emergency alarm. The shimmering mass moved toward her, slow and deliberate. She backed into the wall, her chest heaving. Reynolds and Patel rushed into the observation room where station security monitored the cameras. "She's not alone in there," Patel exclaimed, pointing at the screen. The shimmering distortion filled Lisa's room, coiling like a snake, preparing to strike. "Open the door," Reynolds shouted. "We can't," the security officer replied. "It's sealed for quarantine. She's going to die." Inside the room, Lisa's instincts kicked in. She grabbed the nearest object, a metal tray, and flung it at the shimmering figure. It passed straight through, but the entity recoiled slightly. "Heat," she whispered. "It reacts to heat." She lunged for the emergency panel on the wall, activating the fire suppression system. Jets of superheated air blasted into the room. The entity writhed, its form flickering violently, before retreating into the vents. Lisa collapsed to the floor, gasping. Back in the control room, Reynolds turned to Patel. "It's still here. We need to warn the entire station." Patel nodded. "If it's moving through the air systems, it could spread to every deck." Reynolds activated the station-wide comms. "Attention, all personnel. This is Captain Reynolds. An unknown, hostile entity is aboard the station. It's invisible, possibly gaseous, and can move through air vents. Evacuate non-essential areas immediately and follow containment procedures. Do not engage it alone. Over the next 48 hours, chaos erupted on Haven 12. The entity began targeting individuals in isolated areas, its movements unpredictable. Security teams tried to flush it out using heat and vacuum protocols, but it always found a way to escape. Meanwhile, Lisa and Patel worked tirelessly in the lab, analyzing the biosamples they had brought from Delta 14. There, Patel exclaimed, pointing to a magnified image on the screen. These microscopic particles, they're alive. Lisa leaned in. The gas isn't just one entity. It's a colony. Millions of microscopic organisms working together, like a hive mind. That explains its intelligence, Patel said. It's not a single creature. It's a collective. With this new information, the crew devised a final plan. They would flood the station's air system with a specialized compound that could disrupt the colony's cohesion, effectively killing the entity. It's risky, Reynolds said. If this fails, we'll lose the station and everyone on it. It's our only chance, Lisa replied. The team worked quickly, deploying the compound through the station's air ducts. As the chemical spread, the entity became more erratic, attacking indiscriminately. The shimmering distortions grew weaker, flickering like a dying flame. It's working, Patel said, watching the monitors. Finally, the entity dissolved completely, its shimmering form fading into nothingness. The station fell silent. In the aftermath, Haven 12 declared the quarantine lifted. The crew of Delta 14 were hailed as heroes for their bravery and quick thinking. But Lisa remained uneasy. As she stared out at the stars from her cabin, she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. If it came from the asteroid belt, she said to herself, how many more are out there? The faintest hiss echoed through the vent, and Lisa turned sharply. But there was nothing there.